What's up guys, I'm Brent with PrecisionLED, and here we have a 2015 Ram 1500 we're going to be performing an LED interior light installation on. Now the 2015 is part of the 4th generation Ram 1500, so this install will be compatible with all years 2009 through 2018. Today we're going to be covering the front map, the rear dome, the courtesy footwell, the truck bed, the license plate, and the reverse lights. Today we're going to be installing our premium style 3D LED lights, which come with these 3 interior trim tools we're going to be using throughout the video. We have our serrated knife tool, our pointed wedge tool, and our fork-shaped wedge tool. So we're going to start by installing on the front map lights, and you could see I've already gone ahead and done the install on the passenger side, so I'll show you how to install on the driver's side. We're going to be using the flat portion of our serrated knife tool in order to access the halogen bulb up here. So we're just going to be prying from this side, which is towards the rear view mirror, towards the nose of the vehicle, and in order to create some separation between the lens and the fixture out here, we're just going to press and hold the lens just like that. You're creating a little bit of separation between the lens and the fixture, and while that's being held, just go ahead, pry the tool in between that separation, and in turn you're actually releasing a clip on this side, as you can see there, and there's another clip over here on the passenger side. So just pry outward, and there we are. Now we have access to the bulb. Now this is actually a very tight space, and it's a bit difficult to access the bulb just with our bare hands. A little trick in order to remove the bulb easier is just to grab a piece of tape. You want to make this U shape just like that. We're going to wrap it around the bulb, right? And then with this tail end of the tape, we can use that just to yank the bulb out. And here we have the LED, so we'll just pop that in. Now these bulbs, they are non-polarity specific, so you can pop them in any orientation and they should come on without any issues. And so now we could just reinstall the lens. So we're first just gonna wanna line up this little tab right here. We're gonna be placing that right underneath the switch. And there's actually a little groove for you to place that switch in there. Once that's in place, just line up these 2 bottom tabs, apply some pressure until those lock into place. So now we're going to be installing on the rear dome light. Now if you can see, there's a small little indentation just right here towards the driver's side of the vehicle. There's one tab that's actually holding this lens into place, so we're going to be using the fork portion of our fork-shaped wedge tool. We're going to be prying right in between that tab. We're going to keep the tab at the center of the tool. Just go ahead, pry the tool in there, and once you're wedged in there, maybe hold the lens so that it doesn't drop when you're prying outward, and that lens will release. Just swivel it down, and the tab that I was referring to is just this one right here. You can actually just let that hang. And so in order to remove this bulb, we're just going to be using the pointed wedge tool. We're going to be prying from the rear of the bulb. You just want to pry downward, just like that. And then you want to just grab the bulb once it's hanging on one side, and then just take it out. And so here we have our LED that will just pop in. This right here, this is a 42mm bulb. This is a very bright LED. So we're just going to pop it in. Now, just like the front map lights, this bulb is non-polarity specific, so pop it in any orientation. Also, in order to create a tighter fitment, if you wish, you can just pry these connectors together a little bit. So here, let's take the bulb out. Let's pry the connectors together, try and create a tighter fitment. Just like that. They are just like aluminum power connectors, so should be perfectly fine. Let's reinstall the bulb. All right, that's a much better fitment. All right, so now let's just test the bulb to make sure everything's working. All right, cool, everything looks good. And so now we can just lock up this lens. Let's make sure this side right here towards the passenger side is tucked in properly. Slide that all the way over, and then you can lock this last lens into place. And now we're going to be installing on the footwell light. Now this bulb is actually very simple to access. You just have to grab this white casing here, just pull it outward, it'll slide right off, just like that. And as you can see there, we have access to the bulb, so you just want to reach in. You can remove this one just with your bare hands. Now just be sure to test the light before reinstalling that cap. Alright, that looks good. And now we can just reinstall this casing here. Now just slide it right over, just like how we removed it, until it locks into place. So now we're going to be installing on the truck bed lights. Now in order to access the bulbs here, we're actually just going to have to remove these two Phillips screws, and we're going to be doing so with a power drill. And now with the two screws removed, we're just going to be using the fork portion of our fork-shaped wedge tool. We're going to be prying from in between the lens and the vehicle. Just going to be prying from the top here. Just wedge in there and pry outward. Work your way down. Just like that. And now we have access to the lights here. So the two bulbs that we're going to be swapping out are these two outside bulbs right here. Those are the truck bed lights, and this center bulb, this is the third brake light. We could swap that out as well. So in order to release these bulbs, you just want to grab this connector here, turn it counterclockwise, and then just pull out to remove. Now we could just remove the bulb with our hands. So here we have our LED bulb, so we'll just pop that in. Now this is a very high powered LED, so it is extremely bright. It's a little bit more bright than the LEDs that are inside the vehicle. And we'll just repeat the same process again. Twist counterclockwise and pull out to remove. And so now let's install the LED bulbs into the socket. We're just going to be inserting the LED bulb. You want to twist the power cable here around until everything's seated flush, just like that. And once everything's seated flush, you can twist the cable clockwise until it locks into place. Now let's repeat the process over here. Insert the cable, everything's seated flush, just lock it into place. As an option, you can also install an LED on the third brake light. So it's the exact same process. Remove the bulb. Let's pop our LED in. Just reinstall the connector. And twist it clockwise until it locks into place. Now let's just line the housing up, but before locking everything down, let's be sure to test the lights and make sure everything's working. Everything looks good. Let's also test that brake light. All right, cool, everything looks good. So now we can just insert these two screws, lock it down, we'll be all done. Now we're going to be installing on the license plate light. So the angle that you're looking at right now, we're actually inside of the rear bumper, and the license plate bulb is actually very simple to access. You just have to reach under the bumper. This right here, this is the power cable right here. So you can just grasp that, twist it counterclockwise, and then just pull out. And as you can see there, we have access to the bulb. So we'll just remove that. And here we have our LED. We'll just pop that in. Now, just like the remainder of the vehicle, these bulbs are also non-polarity specific, so pop them in any orientation and you'll be good. Now let's just go ahead and reinstall the power cable here. We're just going to line up these two tabs into the socket accordingly. Swivel the connector around until everything's seated flush. Just like that. And once it's seated flush, twist the cable around clockwise until it locks into place. So So now we're going to be installing on the reverse light, and in order to gain access to the reverse bulb, we're just going to have to remove these two Torx bolts, and we're going to be doing so with the T20 Torx bit. So now that those two Torx screws are removed, you can see that the housing, the reverse housing, is hanging a little bit. Now it's just held into place now with a couple slide-in clips from this side. So you're just going to want to grasp the housing and pull it towards you. And if you're actually having trouble doing that, you can take our fork-shaped wedge tool. You can just pry from in between the housing and the vehicle, and then just slide down. Just like that. And this right here, you can see this is the clip that I'm talking about. And you want to slide these two slots into these clips down here. And so now we can just remove the reverse bulb, which is this one right here. This is on the bottom of the housing. So you just want to grasp the cable, twist it counterclockwise, and just pull out to remove. So now we'll just remove the halogen bulb here. This is a T10 bulb type, which is the same bulb that we installed on the truck bed lights. So it is a very bright bulb. If your vehicle has a reverse camera, it is going to increase the visibility. So everything looks good. So now we could just reinstall the LED bulb back into the slot. We're lining up these two tabs into the slot accordingly. Once everything's seated flush, twist the connector clockwise until it locks into place. Now we can reinstall the reverse housing. Now, just like how we removed the housing from the vehicle, we just slid these two clips away from these tabs over here. So we'll just go ahead, we'll slide them right in again. Once those are in place, we could just reinstall these Torx bolts.
And that's the end of the installation. If you have any questions or concerns, please email us at help@precisionled.com, or you can reach us online and submit a support ticket at www.precisionled.com/contact. Now, like we said before, please like or subscribe if you enjoyed the video or enjoyed the process for what we do. It really does help us out when we make the next one, knowing that there's people out there watching the videos. Have a good one.